What is up, everyone? We are live. It is April 5th, Saturday, Final Four Saturday. We had to get the four box for Final Four. Got a couple of our friends here with us. Haven't done many shows with our old friend, Matt Kajeski's got his new YouTube channel. Go ahead and check that out. Matt, how you doing this Saturday? You pumped for the games? How you been, man?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. This brings me back to the old days when we were doing shows before the COVID tournament was inevitably canceled. But I'm doing well. I'm excited for the games. How are you?
Doing well this Saturday. Gavin, I'll bring you next. I'm sure that you're happy that it's not a 7 a.m. PST show. It's a, 9 a.m. PST show, even though I think you woke up for the 7 a.m. show because they didn't tell you what time the show was. So how you doing?
Yeah, last show of the year, what the hell? Gave me a couple extra hours. It was going to be rough if you started 2 hours earlier, so I'm glad it starts now. But yeah, man, best Final Four ever. Holy shit, these teams are so good. Only right way to end the season with these last three games.
Yeah, I'm in another Twitter argument about the best Final Four of all time. I got to stop doing this, Matt. Let's bring in Alex. We got Fear My Turtle here from Establish the Run. His content's been great the entire month. He's even got content for the Crown games today over at ETR. How you doing, Alex?
Yeah, I thought we were talking about the Crown Final Four, but I can settle for the 4 number 1 seeds. I'm more excited for the actual basketball games than the DFS slates, which is rare for me, but as a college basketball fan, I don't think it gets any better than having these two matchups. So definitely excited for the day, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I mean, couldn't ask for a better Final Four. It's the 4 teams that we wanted. We get some potential drama with both matchups here, especially Florida and Auburn, who played early this year. Florida won at Auburn. But before we get into it, Alex, I wanted to ask you, so what do you do between now and college football? And this is the same thing for Matt. Do you see your kids? What do you do?
Yeah. I don't know. College football prep starts Tuesday for me. So There's lots of teams just working through back testing stuff. A lot of stuff has changed with portal, so relying less on previous year stats. So trying to get a jump on these teams even earlier, building out rosters and just looking at team level stuff. So obviously it's less of a day-to-day grind, but yeah, definitely we'll be starting on college football shortly.
I just realized that my camera wasn't on, but no, it is. Matt, I'm sure you're already still prepping for college football transfer portal stuff. Is that what's your plans on the YouTube channel for the summer? And I'm going to post the link in the chat here as well, so people can subscribe.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Yeah, I started college football stuff this week, actually. Same thing Alex said. It's like a full-time job. The transfer portal opens next week as well, or 10 days from now, something like that. So we have our spring window coming up, which was chaos last year. I'm sure it'll be chaos this year. And then it's trying to just keep your head above water as you go through all the teams.
Yep. So yeah, I just dropped the YouTube channel. Go ahead and subscribe to Matt's new channel there. All right. Well, we're only doing a half-hour show, so let's get into the games here. 6 o'clock Eastern, 6:09. We get Florida and Auburn, 3 versus 4 on Ken Palm. He's got Florida 81-80. I'll throw it to you first, Gav. Overall thoughts on this game, thoughts on these teams, thoughts on their path that they took to get here. Florida pretty fortunate to be in this spot, but they're here and now they get another shot at Auburn.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, right? I think it's pretty clear which team has been better, over the last month of the season, that being Florida, kind of starting with, their win at the Jungle, it's double-digit dogs, and I think won outright by 9 or 10 points or something. So, they've been playing much better, but Auburn, also went through that stretch towards the later part of the year where, they clinched the tourney. They were the number 1 team the entire year. Broome was banged up. So, I don't really fault them too much for kind of the lack of focus they had the last couple games down the stretch, but they've actually looked, I think, better in the tournament than Florida has. Like you mentioned, Florida completely ass-pulling a win against Texas Tech, via 2 missed front ends and 1-and-1s and some Walter Clayton ridiculous shot making. We know what we're going to get with these teams, right? Both are going to play pretty conservative drop coverage. They're both going to deny a lot of catch and shoot opportunities, run you off the 3-point line. So the main thing for me here is just, which team is really going to win off the bounce in the mid range, is probably going to be the one, that ends up winning this game. And it was Florida the first time because Auburn just missed a billion shots in that game.
Yeah.
I believe it was a shot quality win for them. They won the shot volume battle, but lost on the scoreboard, obviously. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. I kind of lean, Auburn getting a couple points here. Don't love if Broome is fully healthy, I'd probably bet it, but yeah, this will be an awesome game. Obviously, a much better total than the other game, so definitely going to need some DFS wise.
Yeah, total at least 20 points clear of the other game, I believe. Matt, we'll go to you. Any just general thoughts on the game before we get into the DFS stuff?
I think Gavin did a good job of that. In the first game, I rewatched it yesterday morning or the day before, something like that. Auburn did take a ton of mid-range shots, and they missed at the rim a ton, which was surprising to see. And I mean, you're going to get some inefficient shots from guys like Pettiford in that range.
Yeah.
But it was one of the worst performances I've seen from them all year. And credit certainly needs to be given to the Florida Bigs for altering those shots. They can contest a little bit better than some other teams because of their size. But it was an uncharacteristic performance from Auburn. So I'm not surprised that Gavin said that shot quality score actually favored them.
Yeah, same. I'm kind of in the same boat with both games here where I want the dog to win, but I just don't think they will. Where do you stand on the game as a whole, Alex, here?
Yeah, slightly into Auburn for me. Like Florida looked like they peaked in the SEC tournament, and I don't know. Auburn seems to be ramping back up a bit. I'm not overly concerned with the Broome injury. I think he'll be fine. But yeah, I don't know how.
We have 34 for
I
Broome.
think I have 34, 35, so I'm right there with you. And I really don't know how much to take from the previous matchup. I do know, like, it seems like Florida kind of exposed Auburn. Like, they kind of used their, like, perimeter pressure against them, a lot of, like, back cuts and stuff. I don't know. I think Auburn's going to be more prepared defensively and have different looks they can give. So, I don't know. It's probably going to come down to shot making. And, like, it's interesting because I don't think Florida's not going to double Broome, right? So like he could kind of go nuts in this game, and I don't know. It probably just comes down to shot making.
Yep. All right. Well, let's shift over to the DFS. Gav, I'll go to you first. Pretty favorable pricing across the board in this game, I think. Anything stand out to you specifically? Any ways that you're going to go just with this game overall? It's only a 2-game slate, so we're going to have to find ways to get unique.
Yeah, I mean, it starts with, Broome and Clayton. Obviously at the top, you're probably going to want to play two of those two guys in flag, on most all lineups. And, flag obviously is a tougher matchup. We just talked about, the lack of double teams that Broome's likely going to see. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be really hard not to play a Janai Broome that was, 100% cleared for practice, healthy, under 10K in the nut game of a 2-game slate. I mean, you're basically, if you don't play him, you're just fading, I think, to be contrarian, like almost hoping for fouls at that point. So yeah, I mean, those are kind of the first two places. And then, you look at like the secondary Florida guards, right? Elijah Martin, Will Richard, 6'3", 5'8". I think it's pretty hard for one of those guys not to get there.
Yeah.
So
you have a lean between the two, or is it just whatever fits?
Yeah, it's really hard to, delineate kind of between the two. Like Martin might give you slightly better peripherals, but we've seen like, the Will Richard 25 real point games. So you can make a case where he has a little bit more upside, but yeah, Martin's playing at least a little bit better down the stretch than he was when we were jamming him as chalk when he had the bad hip injury. So those are kind of the main areas I'm looking at. Auburn's probably the same way. But holy shit, yeah, choosing between any of these guards, any given game, any guy can go 0 for 9. Chad Baker, Mazzara, Miles Kelly, I'm looking at you. Or they can go 10 to 12, like we've seen Pettiford do in some of these ridiculous, huge get-up games throughout the year. So plenty of options here. I think it's much easier to get contrarian in this spot than it is in the other game.
Yeah, let's save the cheaper guys for the end of the game here. Matt, we'll go to you. What do you like above 5K here? Any like strong takes that you have with the DFS plays?
This shouldn't surprise anyone, but I think you do need to prioritize Broome, and I'm trying to find ways to make lineups work with him and flag.
Yeah,
and there are some cheaper guys that you can get to. It's going to be a little greasy down there, but I think first and foremost, I wouldn't be scared off of those builds, especially in games like this with the tournament. I have a 34-minute projection on Broom too. It sounded like Alex, you were the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that might be conservative in a game like this, even with the injury. Unless he fouls, we're probably on the low end of those projections. There's a chance like Broom plays 39 minutes in a game like this.
True.
So, and the same thing with Flag, same thing with Khan, all of your studs. So when you're splitting hairs between these players, I do want to prioritize Broom and then play like a hand Lockton or something to make it all work. But from there, I think Chad Baker-Mazar is interesting in the mid-range. A lot of concerns with him. Gavin mentioned like 0-9 is certainly in the range of outcomes for shooting. But I also think his minutes have been a little lower recently because of some weird fluky things. He had the game where he fell on his ass and then he missed a couple minutes. So we've actually seen him play 21-25, but then he jumped right back up to 32 minutes. I know Kelly especially was in a little bit of foul trouble in that game.
Yep.
But basically, I think you're probably looking at Baker-Mazar playing somewhere between like 27 and 31 minutes with better peripherals than the other guards. I know he's more of a wing, but you get more rebounding with him. I bet the over on his rebound props. So he's someone I'm interested in if he's going to be contrarian, especially for Auburn.
Yeah, and I think he might be just because of the price point, Alex, and you can talk about that because guys going to play Condon, obviously at 6K, and then the Florida guards. Baker-Mazar could be a little bit lost here. I mean, it's a 2-game slate, but because he definitely projects fourth best of those guys in that range. And he takes on that and then talk about the studs up top too.
Yeah, I like Baker-Mazar a lot for tournaments, and he's obviously I had some weird things, but also he shot pretty poorly. So,
yeah.
I mean, it could be a situation where we have minutes upside, we have efficiency upside, we'll get lower ownership. Like, I think I have like 27% owned. If anything, that'll be low. It'll come in lower just because people are tired of dealing with this shit and playing him and him getting like 16 points.
We are too.
But like, yeah, but I see plenty of upside. Like to me, he clearly has a bigger upside than Kelly, Denver Jones, those types. But I don't know. Who knows what he could go out and do something really stupid in the first half, get a foul and pick up a technical, and who knows what you get. But there's upside there. So totally agree like that. With the Broom conversation, I'm playing 100 lineups in the flagship. I'm debating just full locking Broom. Like, I really don't see a path where he doesn't get there if he's on the floor for those minutes.
Yeah.
My other consideration would be just making a rule, if not Broom, playing both Chaney Johnson and Dylan Cardwell in that lineup. So either one of those. Other one of those two. So I'm going to have that like Florida-Auburn big like fully covered in my lineups, and that'll be like basically the anchor point of what I'm building around. And it does get tricky jamming and flag also, but I still want to have plenty of flag even if I'm locking Broom. So certainly agree with Matt on that one.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the cheaper guys in this game, Gav. 5K and under, we got Chaney Johnson, Cardwell, Chinyelu, Aberdeen, Hand-Lockton. Anything that you like in particular? I know if you play the Broom flag lineup, we're going to need someone under 4K, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I played greasier than, what's on this slate below 5K. That's all I'll say. Yeah, I think Cardwell is probably, the safest out of the sub 5K guys, just given kind of minute path role. The Florida double big, I think, gives him more staying ability on the floor. If we're talking about the fact that Broom could play like, 36 to 38 plus in this spot.
Yeah.
Chaney Johnson's going to be a little bit probably better rates, but a little bit lower minutes, I'd imagine, maybe than Cardwell just in this spot. If we think, both those guys are going to be on the floor a ton, and Cardwell and Broom. Everybody just got the Chinyelu chalk stuck right up their ass in the last game. I mean, that was.
Yeah, we did.
Just the Florida bigs kind of give me a little bit of angst, right? I mean, not only do they both have a bunch of foul trouble themselves, but like we've been saying, that front court is so deep. They're 4 deep, and 2 of them are going to play at all times. So, I think Hand-Lockton, boy, if it's one of those spots where like if it was a 6 or 8 game slate, I'm probably not looking to play him, but. I mean, I've shipped GPPs like playing, the guy who gets -1 points, Logan Duncombe. If it really is a spot where, even if he gets you 8, it might not kill you if it fits, kind of the nuts around it, then that's really more the situation that you're playing him. I actually think Aberdeen might be a little bit more safe from a minute floor perspective as a guy who, he kind of forces the issue. He's going to come off the bench and get up his shots, against the drop coverage. He might have kind of a sneaky path here where I think most people might just kind of look towards the hand locked and given name value, him being able to clear, 20 plus fantasy points a couple times in recent games. So that's basically where I'm at on the budget guys in this game.
Yeah, Matt, what do you think here? I obviously think that Chaney and Cardwell are good plays. Do you have any stands on the Florida guys at 4K or less? Any leans there?
I prefer the cheap forwards. One, largely just raw price. I needed to go all the way down to hand locked him in some lineups, and I don't really see much separating a guy like him and Chinyelu. It's largely going to come down to fouls, I think, in the front court. You might get some upside for hand locked or Chinyelu if you have fouls for Condon or Hogg. But as far as Aberdeen goes, I think there's like a real minute floor with him. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays like 8 minutes in this game and you see Clayton play all 40, Elijah and Richard play like 36, 37. In Aberdeen, the position he plays, you just don't have as much like stock upside as you do with the forwards. I think I'm out on him at the price and would rather just play the forwards for Florida. And Auburn, I agree with the like Chaney Johnson and Cardwell stuff. They're just not quite as cheap as hand locked in. So there are some lineups where that's just not going to work.
Yeah, Turtle, any thoughts here? I think this is going to basically make or break the slate is what you get right down low.
Yeah, so I mean, one thing to consider, if we think Broom has upside to play 38 minutes, those minutes are coming at the expense of Cardwell and Chaney. Yeah. So like, it's kind of tough to play all three, especially in like the large field tournament, just because like if Broom's going to play 38, it's tough to get there on both of those other guys, other bigs. But I mean, they're certainly cheap enough. The Florida guys to me are kind of trickier. I think there's a good chance that Florida only plays like, I don't know, 21 to 25 minutes of like the actual, like the non-Hawk Condon bigs, like Chinyelu, Alexis, Handlogan. Like I think, Chinyelu only played like 15 minutes the last time these two teams played. They're fine running a lot of Hawk and Condon. And I don't know. I kind of feel like if Florida's down in this game, they'll want more offense and play the good guys anyway. So I think there's a lot of paths for like the minutes to get squeezed out on like the Chinyelu, Handlogan. However, like Handlogan's 3,500. He doesn't need to like score 15 points. He just needs to win that price range. And like you have like if the lineup combination works where like you need that price point, like doesn't really matter really what he does much. So definitely get that in tournaments, but I don't feel great about like their floors or anything.
Yeah, no, it would just be to play the double stud is playing one of these guys. All right, let's go back through one more time. Just last thoughts on this game. Any bets that you guys have made? Gavin, we'll start with you.
God, put me on the spot like that. Jesus. There are a couple spots that I think are attackable with props, right? The props on the Florida front court just make me nervous, kind of like Turtle just talked about. But like looking at these guards, one of these Auburn guards is going to crush. And while I think like a points prop with a Pettiford might be a little bit like safer than some of the others, just given kind of the role that he's going to have against the drop coverage. Like we said it before. I think Turtle said it before. Just with Baker Mazar's been shooting like shit, but you talk about range of outcomes. He could pick up a flag or two before the first media timeout. He could also score 20 real in this spot.
I kind of like his points prop.
I don't mind the Baker Mazar points prop, and I think he's actually even a potential alt spot guy because if he's going, he's going to keep shooting. So
yeah, that's true.
I kind of like taking a shot there. Like Miles Kelly is a trendy under points prop. I think his points have moved under. I understand it from a perspective of just not making shots recently, but dude, imagine betting a Miles Kelly points prop, and it's one of those games. He's done it multiple times this year.
Where he comes out before the first media.
Literally is 3 for 3 in the first 2 minutes of the game. Like, and you're just stone fucking dead there. So I can't quite get there. If you want Broom overs, I think points is probably a little bit better than rebounds. I think because he should if he doesn't get to 20, it's not like he's scoring 8. He's probably going to be right there at 18. So even. I don't mind his prop either. Those are kind of the prop. I still got to lock stuff in before the game, but that's kind of where I was thinking.
Yeah, well, if you wanted to bet the rebound prop, you probably should have bet it before Alex released it on his site, and now it's a rebound higher.
Thanks, asshole.
Yeah.
I waited till Friday.
Yeah.
They've been putting up props for these tournament games like 4 days before. Like, it's
know.
insane. They've never done
Yeah.
that before, I don't think. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah, and let you bet $9.80 until game day.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wanted to get beaten into place with like a barrage of $10 bets before they take anything.
Right. The only prop I have is one that you have too, Alex. I took the Hawk 3-point over. That's been hit pretty hard now. Matt, any props you like? Any bets in this game? And what side do you lean here?
I bet Auburn was going to talk about the Thomas Hawk prop over threes as well. It's one I hit earlier this week.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah, I mean, he's shooting 35%, took 4 in the first game, has 6, 4, and 2 in the last 3. He's probably going to play 30 minutes unless he fouls. Seems like a pretty solid one.
Yeah, all right. So you're on Auburn. Gav, did we get a pick from you? Just lean on the side?
Yeah, I'm probably going to end up just betting Auburn money line, keep the points. They win this outright.
Turtle, any bets here? I know that the ones that you've given away have moved a little bit.
Yeah, I'm rooting for Auburn in this game. I would bet them, but I have Auburn over Duke in the 1,500 bracket on DK. So that's my rooting interest there, to get Auburn and Duke to the finals.
Yeah, I really hope Auburn wins this game. I'll probably end up doing the Auburn money line. It's just scary flying in the face of what Florida's done the last couple of weeks, but I'll probably get there.
Watch their last 2 games and you'll feel better about it, I think.
Well, I had Texas Tech money line last game. That became a coaster at the DK Sportsbook real quick. All right, let's go to the other game here. We went a bit long on the first one, of course. We got Houston Duke, the second game, 8:50 Eastern. Ken Palm's got a Duke 68-66, but we're getting 4.5 here. Matt, I'll go to you first. We'll talk about this game overall. What are your thoughts here?
This is a really hard game from just a handicapping perspective.
Yeah.
Show a lot of value on Houston, but man, it's just, you want to go right into the flamethrower that's been Duke recently. And it's the same advantage they've had over most of the teams, size. Houston's front court's going to play like Francis, Tugler, Roberts. They're all 6'8" against Malawach, who surprised me and played over 30 minutes in their last game. Looked like he was going to die, but he did it. If he's out of foul trouble, like, that's going to be tricky. If that's how this plays out, Roberts is going to foul out. And then you're just attacking some of the smaller guards, and especially like Cryer when he's on the floor. We just saw Duke relentlessly attack Sears because of the size. But at the same time, I mean, you have Sampson, who's been an absolute wizard in spots like this. I'm kind of torn up on the game. I want to take Houston with the points, but man, I don't know. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say.
Yeah, I'll go next. I laid the 4.5 with Duke. I haven't bet against them the entire season. I'm rooting for Houston to win this game. It's tough to find paths that they get there. The way that they score, like, they're just going to have a nuke game from 3, which they could totally do. This is the best shooting team of Sampson's career. We'll go to you, Gav. I want to hear your thoughts on this one. We haven't flown in the face of Duke much this year.
Yeah, go Turtle first, because whatever doesn't get covered, I'm gonna rant about and nerd out on this game.
All right, Turtle, go ahead.
No, it seems like a great spot for Duke. Like, just like they have backcourt size, which I think helps them, like, with how Houston like aggressively like pressures the ball, and they have perimeter shooting. I think this could be a spot where Proctor gets a lot of decent looks from 3. Malawach was about 1 minute away from Puke Fest 2.0.
Yeah, right. I couldn't believe how many minutes he played in the game.
He looked like he was going to die.
I don't know. The first time he puked.
That was like probably my favorite moment of this college basketball season. It just came out of nowhere, and it was definitely a good time. But I don't know. I mean, this game could definitely be just such a grind. Like, if we look back the last time these two teams played in the Sweet 16 last year, it was like 51-54. I don't want to compare this year's Duke team to last year's because they are quite better in a lot of ways. But it's a pretty similar Houston team, and I don't know. I think it's the same result. I like Duke as a side. I just think this could be kind of a grimy game, and I don't trust Houston to score, even though they are better offensively. But I'm interested in hearing Gavin get pretty deep into the weeds here, because like just some like, I think Cryer is going to be in hell just like Mark Steers was last week, and it just doesn't inspire confidence on some of these Houston spots.
Sears did not look like he was having a good time in that game last week. Oh my God, he was so frustrated. All right, Gavin, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, Sirius can barely ride the Matterhorn. He's barely tall enough. So when you face a team that their shortest guy they're rolling out is 6'6", yeah, it creates problems. On one hand, the Duke defense, they're the most switchable team in the country with the most switchable player in the country. So believe it or not, they switch everything. So you're going to find a lot of situations where Cryer is dribbling against not even just like the big guards, but like Flag or Malawatch. But on the same time, you're also going to get spots where Jawan Roberts is flipped on, to a guard and gets like a back down. On the other side, we know about the Houston defense, right? It's the most aggressive ice ball screen defense in the country. And I think this is really on the DFS side, like what it comes down to is what Shire does, because if you use Flag as the pick and roll initiator, you're basically burning whoever initiates the pick and roll just on the spot, because they're bringing two to the ball's going out of their hands regardless. And it's not even the first pass that you're really going to score on. It has to be the second hockey skip pass around the perimeter. Now, Duke has the size to do it, obviously, like we talked about, to at least throw over the top of that. You have to shoot over the top of Houston. Duke is an elite catch and shoot team, from the perimeter with four plus guys on the court that can really do it at any time. So, yeah, Houston's path is obviously, they're one of the better 3-point shooting teams in the country. They're also elite in the mid-range against a team that's going to play drop against them, kind of similar to what we talked about in the previous game. So there's advantages on both sides, right? But the thing that I can't just shake the feeling of is, one, this is a Houston team with a lot of the guys from the team last year that lost to this Duke team when Shed went down, right? And I don't know if there's a coach better in the country that uses motivation better than Kelvin Sampson. And that Kelvin Sampson is reminding them of that game. So there's kind of that anecdotal note, right, attached to it. So this is a spot where, like, I could see Houston hitting some shots early and just kind of beating the shit out of the kids of Duke. These are still all kind of freshmen that aren't the most physically imposing guys, right, versus the most physically get off the bus scary team in the country. So, like, man, in my loins, this feels like Houston is the worst matchup for Duke out of the 4 remaining. Wow. Now, there is, or out of the 3 others remaining, there is a component where if Houston obviously has a level of half-court offense that doesn't match Duke. So if they're not hitting shots, then they're just stone dead probably in this spot. But they're not going to let Duke run. They're going to slow it down, and they're going to get up in the jersey of some of these guys. And, a lot of the half-court beautiful stuff that Shire's been running this year, he might be the most improved player in this entire game is Shire and what he's done, because I was really skeptical of him kind of X's and O's wise coming into the year. And boy, this team looks good. But if you could disrupt some of that half-court stuff that Duke wants to really run, with some just plain old physicality, like I think there's a very live situation where Houston comes out, leads at the first half. Duke kind of regains their footing, wins. I like a Houston-Duke halftime, full-time in this spot with the motivation.
You've been loving those too in the tournament.
The
halftime, full-time.
Yeah, they've been pretty good to us. I should have got the one. Vlad Golden missed a freaking layup at the damn buzzer against Auburn at the first half. But regardless, that's kind of my long-winded diatribe on that. I just can't shake the feeling that Houston is so physically imposing that it could be the one team that just throws Duke off, because I don't think you outskill Duke. I don't think you out-execute Duke on either side. It's just you just have to beat the crap out of these kids, and that's what they're going to do. So I don't know. I may do something funky. I may do Houston Duke halftime, full-time. I just may do Houston first half money line. I'm getting to Houston on this game in some form or fashion. That's all I know.
We'll see how many makers you have by 9 p.m. Eastern.
If Duke is getting wrecked on the boards, then it's going to be a lot. So,
all right, let's go to the DFS. So we'll go to you first, Matt. Let's start with Flag and go down from there. Thoughts on the Broom plus Flag teams, and then in a super low total game, is there anything else that stands out for you here?
If you force me pick between Broom and Flag, it's still Broom. But like we mentioned earlier, trying to find a lot of ways to make this happen. I am worried a little bit about duplication. You just don't have a lot of options in the 3-4K range to make the double Flag Broom lineup work. So I don't know. If you're playing large field stuff, you're probably just naturally going to be duplicated in some degree. It's a 2-game slate. But Flag, I still think, is the second best overall play on the slate, even when you start factoring in his price. Minute upside, he's probably going to play like 38, 39 in this game if it remains competitive. Basically, all his rates have jumped since they've entered the tournament, which shouldn't be all that surprising, just given the extra minutes. And he's the best player in the country, outside of maybe the argument with Broom if you wanted to make it. But outside of him, this is where you start finding some of the cheaper guys too. Yeah. So I do have interest in other players.
Yeah, let's save the cheap guys for the next go around. Matt, anything else like the non-flag pieces that are above 5K? I think are a bit tough to figure out in this spot. I think Roberts projects well, but I'm worried about fouls here for him. I know you are as well. Any thoughts on him? I think I would prefer to play Uzan over Juwan here if I had the $300.
I think I'm in the same place as you. Juwan doesn't foul a lot, at least this year, but you're still talking about Houston's in the 320s with 2 foul participation. If he ends up with, and I don't know if he'll change that for a game like this. Yeah. He didn't in a really impactful game last round, and he hasn't at times this year. So that's a worry for me. If Roberts gets 2 first half fouls, I think you're just locking him into 16 or 18 minutes. I guess that's a concern with some of the guards too, but I think it's a little less likely. I'm kind of interested in Uzan as well for some of the peripheral upside instead of going to a Cryer who's mainly dependent on shooting. And this is factoring in price. Cryer comes in kind of a range where he's a little bit in no man's land, given how shot dependent he is. And he's the player that's facing the biggest deficit in terms of height. So that's a little bit of an issue for me unless they can create open shots. I think my favorite play overall for Houston's Uzan in the mid-range. It's tough to get to the other guys without the peripherals, and Roberts with the fouls. And everything you think about Roberts with fouls applies to Tugler as well.
Yeah. All right, Turtle, thoughts on the double spend lineup and then thoughts on the 5K plus plays here?
Yeah, I think I'm probably less enthusiastic on the double spend than you all. I'll certainly have some of it. But for me, I'm such priority on Broom, and the cheap guys aren't great on this slate. So I kind of feel like there's a good chance Broom plus just full mid-range after that has a chance to be better on the specific slate. But obviously it's 2-game slate, so you have to do some weird stuff. I might be interested in trying more of playing 2 of the really cheap guys in Flag, Broom, and just getting on a different lineup construction, just because to your point, people are going to want to play both of them. And then there's only so many combinations with playing one of the cheap guys. So I'm going to play around with that as well. But agree with you. I think Uzan's my favorite Houston guy. Cryer's my least. I'm currently Xing him out in my 100 lineups, Cryer. Yeah. So I'm hoping his ownership is around the 20% have projected. I just think he's probably the worst play on the slate. So lock him in for 8 3-pointers.
Prop right now.
Yeah. Do the alts because
right. Alts on LJ Cryer, Gavin. Write that down.
Just looking for some stances on this slate.
Yeah, no, I know.
2 games. So Cryer's the one I'm getting off of, but I mean that he can certainly do some damage in the mid range, but I just think Uzan's better equipped for this kind of game, scoring fantasy points.
Where are you at with Malawatch? Matt brought up the 31 minutes. I've got him at 24, 25. I kind of think that was a one-off. And with Malik Brown, he's got to be getting more and more healthy every day. We got a report this morning that he's going to play more minutes. Those minutes are only coming from Ngangba and Malawatch. So do you have any takes on the Duke center spot in general?
Yeah, I'm concerned. I only have him for 25 as well. I'm worried about fouls here. I'm worried about rotation stuff. I'm worried about how he'll handle the physicality. I'm worried about him getting his 4 to 5 lob dunks in this game. Just doesn't seem like a great spot for that to occur. So I'm generally down on Malawatch, and his price is a bit up. So I mean, he could certainly have a fine game. He can rebound the ball, he can block shots and whatnot. But I'm probably on the lower end on him.
Yeah, I am too. Houston just doesn't try to score at the rim too. So I think the block upside's a bit muted here. Gav, any takes on the Duke front court with Brown getting more and more healthy here? I actually think Brown's an interesting play. If you're playing 100 lineups, I would probably have some of him.
How many minutes do we think he plays?
8 to 10. But would you be surprised if he's healthy and plays over Ngangba? He was before the injury.
Yeah, I mean, he easily could. Remember, Houston is like one of the
3,100.
Houston is one of the most prolific ball screen offenses. I mean, they spam it at inordinate rates. And Malik Brown is an elite switching big. So that is one thing, right? Malawach being forced to guard in space. I think Turtle brings up kind of there is more rotational uncertainty with the front court for sure. And I think this is also a lineup where you can see stuff like even Flag at the 5 and Con at the 4, because what that does is it allows Con to be the screener. Now they were running a lot of pistol screens with Flag initiating and Con being the screener, because against drop coverages, Con as a pick and pop guy is a literal cheat code. Like him just getting open looks from a big that's dropping into the paint. There could be plenty of lineups like that. So DFS, the front court is a little bit spotty. I think Con's a much better play than Cryer in the same game. Personally, so until Cryer gets another eight boards like he did against Tennessee, but the scoring output at the rim, you're right, is tough. I think I can at least remember 3 times, maybe 4, where Tennessee tried to throw a lob to Okpara on the back end, and one of the Houston guys just grabbed it midair and just kicked it out of bounds. So it's a really tough matchup for Malawach, but he's also the ultimate GPP guy on a 2-game slate. I'll tell you what, it's not a bad Malawach 3-point prop time. We're not going to get to 7. We're not going to get the 7-1 that we got in Vegas, but
Turtle, we're in Vegas, and Gavin convinces us all to take over half a 3 at plus 700 for Malawach, and he buries one. And I thought his pants flew over the couch. It was ridiculous.
That's insane.
I almost fell back over the couch.
That is insane.
Ripping my pants off.
All right, let's talk about the under 5K guys before we get out of here. We're going a little long. We'll start with you, Matt. Sion James at 4,700 is going to project well. I worry about the ceiling for him. But besides that, I don't have anyone projected for over 18 minutes under 5K in this game besides James. What do you think about the cheap guys here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm worried about how owned Sion's going to be. Yeah. It's just a price point thing with him. I agree with you on the upside, but at 4,700, I mean, he's going to be in. I'm curious to hear what Turtle has in his ownership projections. I don't do those for college basketball, but just, off the cuff, can't imagine he's coming in low owned at all. So
37 is what I have.
Really?
I think it'll be 50.
If he's at 37, I mean, that's.
But if in the 222, like he's going to be probably like 50 or 60. Yeah. So the thought is like the larger field, people aren't making optimal lineups.
I pull up the ETR projections and the goddamn Crown games are in here. What the
priorities, man?
All right, we'll go to you real quick, Turtle. So the cheaper guys in this game, we're gonna have to make some decisions on just because it's a 2-game slate. We saw Francis get some extra minutes with the Tugler fouls. I think that's a path for sure. Malik Wilson, I think, is interesting at 4-3, just because we've seen him pop for higher minutes games if any of the Houston front court fouls. What do you think about the cheaper guys here? 5K.
I think Malik Wilson has like the largest range of minutes on this slate. I think he can play anywhere from like 12 to 26, and I really don't have a good handle on what the most likely outcome is.
I think is what I have.
Yeah, I'm around that too. But like, if you look at the recent, like the last like 2 weeks, like he's been playing more than 20, like every single game almost. But it's just a lot of things have happened, like Robert's foul trouble, Robert's injury, Sharp got foul trouble one game. So like, I think if Houston stays clear of fouls and it's like a competitive game, they don't need to shake things up or anything. Like I could see him playing like 13 to 15 minutes, but I definitely see paths where he could play mid-20s and crush. So he's interesting. I'm probably just going to try to match the field with him because I don't have a really solid stance. I think Francis is one of the better tournament plays on the slate. I would just max one Francis and Tugler, hope for some Tugler foul trouble. And Francis does have minutes upside because he's going to be on the court if Tugler's in foul trouble, and he's going to play anyways. And he can be productive with some peripherals. So I like Francis quite a bit. Yeah.
All right, Gav, we'll go to you last, and then we'll go around for one last word from everyone before we get out of here. Gav, thoughts on the under 5K guys in this game for DFS?
Yeah, the backup Houston big is always in play. Matt mentioned the 2 foul participation rate during the Tennessee game. They asked Kelvin Sampson like in an interview mid game about Juwan Roberts, and he specifically said like it's not worth risking somebody that we need to pick up the 3rd foul. Like God damn it, Kelvin, God damn it. But it's still the point still remains. If either one of those guys, then Francis is going to play a lot more. Wilson is tough. I don't really like, Wilson, Arsenault. I don't know. I don't think I played really Malik Wilson much all year. At least consider him in MME stuff, but I don't think you got to worry about for a mainline build. I think, it really starts with Francis. I'm probably out on Ngongba in this spot. Now, I think personally that Shire comes into this game and puts Sion James on the ball and kind of burns him because of the lethality on the perimeter with everybody else. Proctor, Kahn, and Flag, like catching off-ball, catch and shoot opportunities, I think is where you go. And James is big enough, strong enough to fight out of double teams, I think, to an extent. So for that stance, I understand why you wouldn't play him because, yeah, if he's going to be on the ball and just getting swallowed alive by, ice ball screen coverage, then it's going to be brutal for him even to get a shot up, much less, even stay in the game, I guess. There's ways that James doesn't get there, but I understand the projection given the minute floor and the price.
Yeah,
absolutely. No, that's a good point. He's a clear bad tournament chalk probably. But
yeah, I would agree with that.
If you're making a cash lineup, it certainly makes sense.
Yes.
Right. All right. Well, let's go around the room one more time before we get out of here. Any bets for this game? Any props? We'll start with you, Matt. What do you got on this one?
I took Houston plus a 5. I don't feel very comfortable with it. I'm not even sure I would recommend it, but at some point it's pretty far off, like what the math gives you and across the industry has it too. It's just terrified at the stylistics, but I don't have any props in this game, just the Houston side, and don't feel good about that.
Yeah, I'll be rooting for Houston in this game. I don't think they win. I think Duke, I can't see Houston winning easily. I could see Duke winning easily. I could see Duke winning a close game. I can only see Houston winning if it's like a close, greasy game. Gav, I'll let you talk about the flag prop that we took, and then anything else.
Yeah, just the over 1.5 threes at plus money. We bet it a couple games ago, and it hit pretty easy. I think he hit 3 in that game. But again, the only prop that I think I'd ever bet against Houston is off-ball guys who are elite perimeter shooters and are not just running into a double team every single play. So that would be Kahn, that would be Proctor, that would be Flag, in my opinion. So the Flag kind of being plus money. I think if you want a Cooper Flag prop, that's a good way to look. I actually think this is not a terrible Juwan Roberts point spot, honestly. Part of it is that I just hate the Cryer spot and I hate the Sharp spot. Cryer won because of size. Sharp is really more schematically like he's a super heavy catch and shoot guy against an elite catch and shoot denial defense. So, and he doesn't get there last game without, just that insane run out towards the end of the Tennessee game. So if you want to look like Sharp under, Cryer under, Uzin and Juwan would be the guys that I'd be looking over in that spot. Other than that, I don't know if many props might be maybe if you want like a Sion assist prop. We saw a quicker, more I'd say quicker twitch guy in Braden. He's not as big as Sion, obviously, but split those double teams and rack up 15 assists, because if you can't skip it and you can't get good catch and shoot opportunities, then the assists are there. So you want the Mall Watch threes. I think it's like 350 or something, or 300.
475.
475. Well, that'll be on my Parlay of Dreams ticket today. I can guarantee you that.
Mall Watch drains the first 3 of the game.
Mall Watch threes with the Houston Duke halftime, full time. I mean, I may be driving a Lamborghini by tonight.
All right, Turtle, we'll go to you. I know you gave away props in your Discord yesterday, I believe. So those are they've moved, but anything that you still like, and then lean on the game.
Yeah, I'm leaning Duke. Don't have a wager on it, just rooting for my bracket entry. But yeah, I like the Proctor over 2.5 3-point prop. I'm not sure what it was at. We had it at 130. Yeah,
it's minus 107 right now. I
still not bad.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so I like him a lot. Cryer under 16.5. I'd probably be fine with the under 15.5 as well. We took flag under 19.5, but that's down to 17.5, which I think is pretty efficient. But yeah. Also, like the Malik Wilson under rebounds prop. I don't feel great about that, but like I kind of just had to take it on principle. It was at
Right.
4.5, and I think he could play like 15 minutes. So we'll see.
When he plays 27 minutes after Uzan fouls twice for the first media, we're just dead.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I also like that too. All right. Well, we said it all. We went long. I told Turtle that we bar him for half an hour, and we got 48 minutes in. So yeah, that's all we've got here. Thanks to you guys for showing up. Go sub to Matt's channel. I put the link in the Discord. Both these guys will have best in the business college football stuff coming out over the summer. It's been a real fun season doing shows every Saturday. Well, most Saturdays throughout the season. And yeah, thanks for hanging out, everyone. And good luck in these contests. And I will personally be rooting for both underdogs, but would love to see Broom versus Flag in the championship on Monday too. All right, for Gav, for Matt, for Alex, we'll see you guys later.